Hello and welcome to TeaBookClub, where we read a book every 2 months and we meet at the end of the first month for a social themed on the book or for a special author visit or something else to do with the book. And at the end of the second month, we meet to discuss the book. Meetings are online so that we can meet around the world, and we have members from Australia, Canada, America, the north of Europe, England, myself. So we're spread around, and it's a great kind of international group that we get together and discuss our book of the moment. You can find all the details for that and links to our Instagram and the website below, teabookclub.org, or join TeaBookClub on Instagram. The book we're reading at the moment, we're just over halfway through, is The Story of Japanese Tea by Tyas Sōsen. And if you've been following along, you'll know just how much I've been enjoying this book. This week has been a slow reading week, so I haven't got that much further than last week, but we're on to a new chapter, so here we go. Chapter 4, Oxidized Tea, page 143. Japanese tea is often referred to as green tea by preference. However, not all tea produced in Japan is necessarily of the green tea variety, nor has tea manufacturing in Japan always been focused primarily on green tea only. During the 17th and early 18th century, tea, mostly matcha, was manufactured for exclusively domestic purposes. However, when in 1868 the Japanese borders were opened to the West, a new age for internationalization, why is that so hard to say, and export of Japan's culture and domestically fabricated products commenced. Tea and raw silk thread were especially of interest, and since the market now had expanded from a domestic focus to the whole world, measures were to be taken to meet the increased demand. Kei Oura, one of the very few female merchants of this period, was the first to export tea abroad during the Edo period. She gathered an approximated amount of 6-ton tea from Urashino in 1853 and exported it through Dutch salesmen to Nagasaki to England, America and Arabia. Tea was first introduced to the world at the Industrial Exposition in San Francisco in 1870. The government didn't only introduce Japan's green tea, but was also eager to export nationally produced black tea and oolong. Tutors on manufacturing methods were brought to Japan from China, and countrymen were sent abroad to learn about production methods in China and India. One such pioneering figure was Motokichi Tada, who travelled to Darjeeling in 1875, from where he brought back home a plan for the construction of a tea kneading machine. He also brought back seeds of Indian tea cultivars, which he planted on Japanese soil, and from which black tea cultivars, as the Benefiku cultivar, were bred later on. In the final years of the 19th century, Kahei Otani founded the Nihon Seicha KK and together with the government endeavoured to exponentially grow the export of tea produced on Japanese soil. As tea became higher in demand, producers struggled to keep up with production to meet their buyers' requests. This resulted in poorly finished and insufficiently steamed tea, or tea with unnecessary additives to improve colour and related traits. As a result, America prohibited the import of Japanese tea in 1883, and to regulate the production of tea in Japan, standards regarding tea industry associations were introduced in 1884 by the Japanese government. This brief recollection of historical facts on the export of tea in modernizing Japan points to a change of focus on the purpose of tea. While during the Edo period and prior, tea, matcha, was mainly savoured in higher circles, while small batches of leaf were produced in local communities for private consumption, and was favoured for its use in the Japanese rite of tea, the modernization of Japan hadn't only abolished the old ways of the samurai and with it replaced the social hierarchy with a newer Western model. This also caused many practitioners of the rite of tea to find themselves without the liberty and financial capacity to pursue their favoured leisure activity as members of the new westernized regime. The numbers of students of the rite of tea dwindled, and instructors in the tradition had to change their methods of instruction to safeguard their livelihood. In this new age, the value of tea as an export product to the West, seen in the success of the product as exported from India, Sri Lanka and China, became apparent to the Japanese government. And in order to compete with other exporting regions, it decided to compete with products that had already entered the Western market. In other words, to begin manufacturing black tea in Japan for the purpose of export. Although black tea may have been a rather new sight on the face of Japan's tea manufacturing, oolong tea may not have been so far removed. The intentions of pre-modern Japan may not have been to produce oolong tea, but circumstances may have guided the result otherwise, at least from the point of view based on our current understanding of the difference between green tea and oolong tea. The notion we have of green tea today must have been principally different in the past, when mechanised equipment wasn't yet in place to speed up harvest and production by means of maintaining an absolutely fresh leaf. When the leaf was obtained from the field, it wasn't transported and immediately processed in the swift manner with which green tea is contemporarily produced. It took much longer for the tea leaf to reach the factory, and in addition was commonly rested before initial processing. This inevitably resulted in a small amount of wilting that in turn imbued the leaf with a more floral and fruity scent, a feature that in contemporary green tea production is renounced. This trait, I believe, resembles the qualities of a lightly oxidized oolong more than the fresh green tea we know today. Therefore, green tea in the past must have been much closer to lightly oxidized oolong tea and much more fragrant than to what we perceive as an authentic green tea contemporaneously. And that is 5 minutes. There's 2 more paragraphs and then I'll finish this section, so we'll just continue. The tea industry may idealize Japanese green tea as the sole heir to the country's extensive tea tradition and introduce it as such. Nevertheless, other kinds of tea, including oxidized variations, are no less kinds that have strong root in Japan's tea tradition. Therefore, when introducing Japanese tea through this book, I do not wish to turn the eye away from other kinds of tea produced in this country, but recognize their existence as part of Japan's culture of tea as a whole. In addition, since more artisan tea manufacturers nowadays are moving towards a more authentic approach for tea production, so do various oxidized tea variations continue to enter the marketplace as well. Tea manufacturing is essentially a means to materialize the inherent capacity of the tea leaf and turn it into a delicious product. To perceive the competency of the leaf and to adjust manufacturing to this purpose is what I perceive as the true skill of a tea manufacturer, and the methods he employs should by no means be limited to one single product, but instead extend to whichever mode of manufacturing is needed for each individual tea bush to give expression to its specific traits. This is why I believe that when discussing Japanese tea produce, we should not limit ourselves to one specific method only, but rather expand our view to whichever kind of tea that could be or is being produced on Japanese soil. And this approach takes methods such as oxidization and fermentation in equal account. If you enjoyed that, then read along or get hold of this book, because it really should be on your tea library shelf. And join us at the end of the month for our TeaBookClub discussion online, where we'll share our thoughts from around the world and discuss the book and see what we thought about it. Thank you.